Good morning and welcome to America in Crisis. I'm Olivia Olson with the Bedrosian Center, and I'm joined here today with the Mayor of Culver City, Meghan Sahli-Wells. Meghan, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's my pleasure.
Okay, well, without further ado, let's get started. So this first question is just sort of a broad, encompassing question. What are you feeling right now?
I'm feeling kind of a mixture of hope and anxiety. So hope-anxiety, if we can make up a word. Because, I mean, obviously we're in a time of tremendous loss, where people are dying alone. These are things that I've never seen in my lifetime, and a lot of us have not. So it's also a time of incredible disruption and uncertainty about how we recover. But in that context is also the source of hope, which is, you know, as we recover, we have the opportunity to, I think, fix some of the systemic inequities that have made, you know, the vulnerable more vulnerable, both to this crisis and before this crisis. And we've also seen just incredible volunteerism, you know, people working in grocery stores and in frontline jobs are heroes right now. And they've been unsung heroes for too long. And so again, like in the hope-anxiety spectrum, you know, I think the crisis has really underlined what our problems as a society have been for far too long, and give us this opportunity to fix some of them by dealing with this pandemic, as long as we do it right.
Exactly. Well, you mentioned addressing some of the systemic inequality, which leads me really well into the next question. Other than healthcare, what is one policy area that we as a country must rethink as a result of this crisis?
It's the crisis that was already a crisis before this crisis, and that's housing. It is absolutely housing. You know, in our area, we've called it the safer at home order. And all over the world, people are saying, you know, you need to stay home in order to stay safe. The problem is far too few people actually have a home, especially in Southern California, but really all over. So the crisis of the lack of housing for those who need housing, the price of housing for those who do have it but are spending, you know, 80% of their income on housing and who are incredibly vulnerable right now. In Culver City, we've followed a lot what's happening in other cities, but have also kind of taken a lead on providing eviction protections, not just for directly COVID-related evictions, but for all evictions, because, you know, you can't be safer at home without a home. And so many years ago, I attended a workshop from LA County Department of Public Health, which was, it was all about housing as a public health issue. They were right then, and they're really right now. The underlying housing insecurity that has been going on for far too long here is the biggest challenge. That's certainly highlighted right now, but that we've got to really, you know, in the kind of opportunity category, with this huge crisis unfolding in front of us, maybe we can have a huge response that really changes the tide on that.
Well said. I really hope we see that. Well, moving into our third question, I think a huge part of the problem today is spread of misinformation that's augmenting the unavoidable chaos. Could you name one source of information that you trust regarding the virus and government actions, and give us a little bit on why you trust this source?
Yeah, and not just misinformation, but disinformation, which means people are doing it on purpose. But I'm going to cheat a little bit and talk about two people, and that is my city manager and my fire chief, because these are the people that I speak with every single day to make sure that Culver City has the right response to the pandemic. So we're looking at our fire chief, Dave White, has a tremendous career behind him and has always specialized in disaster preparedness. And so he was ready for this crisis like long before it hit my radar, for sure. I mean, I heard about it in the news, but he was already in preparation mode. And so, and this is kind of his protocol. Every time there's some sort of, SARS or whatever illness that is happening in the world, Ebola, that sort of thing, he actually has a protocol that he's going through.
Wow.
Just to prepare and be sure that if it does come, we're in good stead. And so that for a city of our size, we're a city of 40,000 people, to have that kind of resource is tremendous, and it's deeply reassuring. So I'm talking to him every day. We're comparing notes and making sure we're headed in the right direction. And same with my city manager, John Nakbar. He's he's kind of a voracious reader. He's good at analyzing situations, and I think. And he also has tremendous experience. So between the two of them, I think what gives me the most confidence is that they're not freaking out. Mm-hmm. They're not overreacting. And I find that, when I get input from some residents, there's like this sense of panic, and it's like, why aren't you doing this right now? Listen to me, like those all caps emails. And I don't think that you can govern in that kind of heightened sense of panic mode. I'm looking for methodical, studied, experienced responses. And so that's why these two people are my pillars of information in this time. And then also, of course, like they're getting their information from multiple sources too. So it's, it's kind of like filtering down through trusted individuals. And I feel like between the three of us and then my colleagues on the council, we're able to take an approach that responds, but doesn't like overreact,
That's wonderful. It seems like you have a really exceptional and prepared team behind you, but if you knew what you know now a year ago, would you have done anything differently?
I think we've been working on homelessness for a long time, but I think I would have pushed harder, faster to actually get stuff built. We've got a lot of plans. We've got excellent plans. But the kind of, there's such a deliberative and slow planning process that it makes it hard to actually get the facilities built that we need to have had built by now. And again, the housing crisis is not new by any stretch. It is just heightened and life or death even more than it has been in the past. And so ensuring that the most vulnerable among us who have no home to stay in, I wish I could have built more faster for them.
Well, I'm hopeful that out of this tragedy, there will be an impetus for change. It appears that across the country, across the globe, that this pandemic has revealed weaknesses in the system, both that we already suspected were there and ones we weren't at all aware of. But I'm also heartened by a lot of the work that I see our leaders doing. A number of authorities and thought leaders have emerged in different sectors in different countries. who is one leader who you think has been exceptionally good during this pandemic?
You know, I look to New Zealand Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern, and I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing her name correctly. I really feel like she has, you know, in this era of disinformation and misinformation and just like a lot of noise, communications is it's a compounding factor in the virus, you know, and having leadership that is, I would think it's like this, she has this great mix of like science and sympathy, right? Where she's just talking to her country in a very personable, you know, fact-based way, but that's human, right? That's approachable, and that is understanding. I kind of on the other side of that is some of the leadership we're seeing in the United States on some levels, which is kind of the opposite of that. And I find that when we're talking about, you know, this is the invisible enemy and this is a war, that is the opposite of where we need to be going. You know, this conflict mentality is not going to help us heal, because what we've seen just from a public health level, from an economic level, from a human level, altruism is the answer, right? Not more. Altruism is actually saving us today. And so I kind of, you know, there's kind of like mirror images that one is the opposite of the other, right? And that approach is of you know, reacting, but reacting with facts and compassion is really what this moment calls for. I'll also add, on a local level, I really want to commend Mayor Eric Garcetti, because he's really brought together all the mayors regionally and has provided a lot of not only information, but kind of, I mean, it's just been really solid leadership, which has allowed us on a local level to act regionally. You'll notice a lot of the cities within the LA region kind of are in lockstep with a lot of the public orders that we're passing. That kind of consistency is very important, because your virus doesn't know what a city border is, right? And my city is 5 square miles, right? So, and I feel like he's also providing things like testing, you know, that are really key to making sure that we're all going to be healthy and safe. And so you know, that the information he's bringing forward, the resources, the reliability, I want to give him a big shout out, because it's been extremely helpful as a smaller city to have good regional leadership.
Excellent. Well, I do think that we focus on the failings in leadership, so it's so wonderful to hear about those who have made such a positive impact during this really disruptive time.
Yeah, I keep sighing because it's, you know, the challenge is real. The
Absolutely.
challenge is real, and the loss is devastating. But we will get through this,
We will.
and hopefully we'll heal more than the virus through this trial.
Absolutely. Well, Meghan, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate all of your really thoughtful answers and for taking the time to speak on this important issue with us today.
Thank you.